The first round split the silence like a blade through glass. Dust leapt from the crumbling wall, and the SEALs froze in place, their eyes darting, searching the horizon. Someone hissed a whisper, sharp and trembling. Who's firing? From where? Panic edged the question, for in the confusion of that burning valley, the shots didn't make sense. No one had been given clearance to fire. Yet men were alive only because of those invisible bullets. Somewhere in the chaos, a ghost was watching over them. A sniper who obeyed no command but his own, and who, in defiance of orders, had just shifted the balance between life and death. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. He had never sought recognition. The man the SEALs called the Ghost wasn't even supposed to be there. His real name was hidden in classified files, but among shadows and dust, he was simply known for appearing when hope thinned to nothing. On that day, he crouched high on a jagged ridge, a lone figure camouflaged so well he seemed woven into the stone itself. Below him, chaos reigned, ambush, screams muffled by gunfire. Men scrambling for cover as an enemy they couldn't see pinned them down. The SEAL platoon had orders. Hold position. Wait for reinforcements. But waiting meant bleeding. Waiting meant brothers lost. Every second pulled another heartbeat away. The Ghost watched it unfold, hands steady on the worn grip of his rifle. He had been told clearly, firmly not to fire unless commanded. He whispered the order back to himself like a chain he wanted to break. His chest rose slowly, the rhythm of a man who had long since learned that hesitation kills. And then he broke the order. The first shot was a warning to the enemy. Or perhaps it was a warning to fate itself. A man who'd aimed his weapon at a SEAL dropped before his finger could squeeze. Dust bloomed where the round struck bone, and the valley seemed to hold its breath. Down below, the SEALs craned their necks, bewildered, whispering frantically, "Who's firing? From where?" None of them could see him. Even their commander scanned the ridgeline, anger flashing in his eyes. Someone had disobeyed. Someone had gone rogue. But in that moment, as another hostile fell, no one cared about chains of command. They only cared about breathing another second. The Ghost didn't move. He listened to the echoes die, then sought the next shadow that threatened his men. His world narrowed to breath, trigger, silence. The sound of battle became a rhythm he alone could break, one shot at a time. Down below, Chief Ramirez, grizzled, battle-hardened, loyal to a fault, felt his jaw tighten. Orders were orders. Yet even as anger boiled inside him, he couldn't ignore the truth. The Ghost's bullets were buying them seconds they didn't have. He swallowed hard, torn between discipline and survival. His men's lives weighed heavier than pride, heavier than protocol. Still he whispered into Cum's voice low, "Stand down. Hold position. We don't fire without command." But already, his men were glancing at one another, silently acknowledging the invisible savior above. That was the cruel beauty of it. Sometimes justice came in defiance, and safety came through disobedience. The Ghost's vantage point stretched far. He saw details others couldn't. A glint of steel catching sunlight, a faint ripple in dry grass betraying a sniper's crawl, the flicker of fear in an enemy's eyes. Every shot he placed was not just survival, it was a choice. He thought of the consequences: court-martial, condemnation, a lifetime of silence heavier than any bullet. But when he closed his eyes for a heartbeat, he saw only the faces of men who trusted the wrong command. He knew if he obeyed, their blood would stain the dirt in front of him. He chose them over himself. Minutes passed like hours. The SEALs began to move with renewed rhythm, emboldened by the unseen hand cutting down threats. Where despair had hung heavy, whispers turned into sharp breaths of hope. "He's out there," one murmured, clutching his rifle. "Someone's covering us." And though no one dared say it too loudly, each man felt it, courage seeping back into their bones. Still, Ramirez's heart twisted. He knew exactly what would happen when command learned of this. Rules were carved in iron. Disobedience wasn't bravery, not in the eyes of the brass. And yet, as another shot rang out, felling a machine gunner before he could cut down half the squad, Ramirez clenched his jaw and muttered to himself, "Damn the rules. Save the men." The climax struck like lightning. A wave of enemies surged from the tree line, coordinated, ruthless. The SEALs braced themselves, weapons ready, fear a drumbeat in their chests. This was it, the tide that could drown them. But the ghost had already measured the storm. His rifle cracked like thunder from the ridge. 1, 2, 3, each shot landed with impossible precision. It wasn't just shooting. It was orchestration, a conductor directing chaos into silence. The enemy charge faltered, broken by the invisible hand guiding death itself. From below, awe replaced confusion. Men shouted, not in fear, but in fierce rising belief. "We've got cover." One roared. And for the first time that day, their advance began not retreat, not desperation, but a push forward. Shoulder to shoulder, fueled by the ghost's defiance, they fought like a tide surging against the shore, and then silence. The ridge lay still. Smoke hung heavy. The valley reeked of gunpowder and sweat. The SEALs looked to the ridgeline, half expecting to see their savior step forward. But nothing moved. The ghost had vanished as if he'd never been there. Ramirez stared long into the horizon, chest heaving, knowing what had just occurred would never be written in official reports. Men would return home alive because of a man who ignored his command. Yet the system would never thank him. Perhaps the ghost preferred it that way. Recognition was a weight he'd long since rejected. Days later, when the SEALs gathered in the quiet of a transport plane, their voices lowered. Some prayed. Some wept softly for what might have been lost. And some whispered again, "Who was firing? From where?" Their words held no accusation now, only reverence. They knew someone had chosen them over rules, and in that choice, they had lived. Ramirez closed his eyes. The image of a lone sniper on a distant ridge burned forever into memory. He would never reveal the truth. He would only carry the knowledge that, sometimes, salvation comes from shadows, because courage isn't always obedience. Sometimes it's disobedience in service of life. Because rules may bind men, but love for brothers breaks chains every time. Because kindness doesn't vanish, it waits, and it finds its way back, and in the silence after gunfire fades, sometimes the strongest sound is a whisper. He was there. He saved us. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And before you go, subscribe to the channel, because here, every story reminds us of one truth. Courage isn't hidden. It's waiting to be found.